For the first time in 32 years, the Toronto Blue Jays are headed back to the World Series. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are two Syracuse-based sports reporters. And I'm going to say it again. Ashley owes a few people an apology. Hi, how you doing?
Hi. First of all, yes, the Blue Jays headed to the World Series in really just the most improbable of improbable ways. We will get into who I do or do not owe an apology at a later time. First of all, we will deal with the Seattle Mariners in a second because I have a lot to say, but we need to deal with something else first. The Toronto Blue Jays deserve all the credit in the world for coming back to win this series. They go from last place to the World Series. They go from losing the first two games of this series at home to going on to win the series after they were down 0-2. I mean, they came back in this series. They came back in this game seven. They came back in the standings. They came back in life. What an unbelievable comeback from the Blue Jays.
I mean, absolute nails. I have to say, I think if you're just a baseball fan, this is one of the most interesting, exciting series I have watched in such a long time. And for any new fans watching or whatever, it just seems like, wow, this is the reason why baseball is truly the best, to quote Sarah Langs.
I do want to pose a question to anybody viewing this video right off the bat, which, first of all, can I just say thank you all so much for all of the views on our last video. It is damn near 100,000 views, and that is just crazy. We've never had those numbers before, so thank you to all of our Dodgers fans and beyond that have found this channel. Beyond that, my question for everybody right off the bat, was the best championship series, ALCS or NLCS, since when? Because to me, I mean, I can't think of one right off the bat in our viewing lifetimes that was better than this.
Yeah, I mean, it was remarkable. Just like you said, the fact that they were down, lost at home, were able to come back, battled every single day. The stars, honestly, on both sides, showed out. And that's exactly what you want for a series like this. I know we're going to get into this later, but I just have to at least allude to it. Don't tell me that during this game seven, when you're watching these teams battle and claw and fight, was any part of you thinking about the fact that the Dodgers are just like well rested, having fun, hanging out and watching this game on TV?
No, but I stand by what I said a couple days ago, which is that there's a storm coming for the Blue Jays. Celebrate tonight while things look peachy because there's a storm waiting for you.
All right, before we get into their storm, we may as well give them their moment to celebrate, give them their flowers since it is tonight after all. This game was crazy. George Springer was the hero, which we'll get to in a second. But to start, Seattle Stars were showing out. I mean, Rodriguez homered in the top of the third, Cal Raleigh homered in the top of the fifth, and it was 3-1 Seattle for an unsettling amount of time, I think, if you're a Blue Jays fan. It was starting to look nerve-wracking if you're a Blue Jays fan in that building.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're the Mariners, listen, Raleigh, Rodriguez, your stars showed up when it mattered the most, right? It wasn't a barrage of offense. It wasn't anything that you were like, okay, we're totally fine. But those guys stepped up. Shane Bieber, I mean, he pitched decently well. I wouldn't say it was the best performance of his life. But can I just say, I need to let everybody in on something. I had a feeling, okay? I have not to do this whole bit, but I have a couple times in my life, I have these psychic tendencies. We can get into that at a later time. I
No,
picked
it's
up my
true.
phone. It is true. I picked up my phone to text you at 10:18 p.m. And I said to you, and I also said to, as we were doing the 10 p.m. sportscast to the people that we work with in the TV studio, I literally said to you, let's see it here. Can I find it? Oh, 10:18 p.m. I have something to say. It's definitely the Mets fan in me talking, but I feel deeply concerned for the Mariners right now. I can't explain it, but they're a bloop and a blast away from a heartbreak. 10 minutes later, the bloop and the blast happen, and George Springer hits it over the wall. And can I just say, I have never been so upset to be right about something. I had this feeling, like this pit in my stomach, because
Hmm.
the Mariners, they've never been there. The Mariners, they just like Seattle fans wanted it so bad, and I don't know. I just saw it coming from a mile away with either Springer or Vladdy. Somebody was bound to step up for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I think, it's funny when you are a fan of a different fan base, you watch these games in such a different way. Because honestly, I think if you're a true baseball fan, you're still nervous, even though you don't even know who to be nervous for. And I think we both were feeling those emotions. But because I don't have an allegiance to either team, I feel simultaneously happy and heartbroken. I really have mixed emotions right now. I mean, listen, the Blue Jays wanted it. It was a good story no matter who won, right? 32 years. Like,
Yeah.
that's so exciting. But it would have been the Mariners' first time ever. And it's just devastating. And frankly, I felt that they were a better matchup for the Dodgers. I
See,
really
now
did.
that's an interesting one, and we'll get into that in a minute. No, I think we just have to take a minute. How heartbreaking for the
Oh,
Seattle Mariners. I cannot even begin to comprehend the feeling. They were up 2-0 in the series. They went back to Toronto for game 6 and game 7, and they only needed to win one. I mean, we're asking ourselves, why am I a Mets fan? They deserve to ask themselves at certain points, why am I a Mariners fan? They've never even been there. Like you just, I don't know. I'm just so devastated for fans of Seattle. Obviously, we know a few people that cover the Mariners and that work with the team, and how truly heartbreaking. They get to the bottom of the seventh and they can't close it out. I mean, a Rosarena standing there in the outfield just watching that Springer home run go. I was like, oh my God.
I mean, listen. I guess the other way to look at it is this is a Mariners team that has a bright future, that has pitchers who really impress, that has truly some of the stars of baseball, power hitters. I mean, I think that the Mariners are the kind of team that for the next few years, we could be having this conversation like they're in contention, they're fighting, they're a team at least to watch. So I don't know. I think if you're a Mariners fan, you probably have mixed feelings, but listen, by the time you make it this far, you're chasing the big thing. And then I think once you get to the World Series, it's like whatever happens, happens. But they could have realistically and probably should have at some point in this series made it. Like I'm thinking about what the ESPN probability graphic said, maybe a
Yeah.
game ago. I'm thinking there was a real opportunity for them to take it, and they ultimately weren't able to. This was big. I mean, for the Blue Jays really to come back in this way was nasty. Like there's really nothing you could do besides tip your hat to them.
No, truly. And I just want to say, Blue Jays haven't been there since 1993 either. It's been 30 years. They've got all of Canada behind them. They are
Yeah.
literally Canada's team, like a great story in and of themselves. So you were going to get a great story here, either way, no matter who won this series. But man, the Mariners, I mean, you're totally right. Like they have great pieces to build off of. Cal Raleigh hit like 65 home runs this year. They will be
Crazy.
back in this conversation. But as we know all too well as Mets fans from last year, getting this far is half the battle. And I think if you're a Mariners fan right now, there's no other way to feel than completely shattered because we know how hard it is to get back to even the championship series.
And you know what? It's funny because you said getting here is half the battle. I think in most sports or like in NFL, like I do feel like getting there is half the battle. In baseball, I feel like getting here is 93% of the battle.
Yeah.
Like even if you are one of the best teams, like think about how many teams we said in April or May were teams that could have, or maybe even should have been here and they're not here. Like
Yeah.
when you in baseball, so many things can go wrong. It is such a strange sport. And even just the way they do the series and how I think competitive a lot of these teams are and balanced they are, who is really to say if the Mariners will be back in this spot again next year or not? This is not like, the freaking Chiefs in the NFL. Like this is not that situation.
And the Chiefs aren't that good this year either. Yeah,
Also
no,
that.
I think that's a great point, and I think that I don't know. I mean, just watching it on the Mariners end, like, oh my God, they're taking the shots of their faces in the dugout. But listen, again, you have to give credit where credit is due to the Blue Jays. Nothing was guaranteed, right? I said I had that feeling. That was a feeling. You know why I had that feeling? Because the Blue Jays were the best comeback team in baseball all year long. The broadcast said they had 50 come from behind wins this year in total, the Toronto Blue Jays. 50. I mean, how many did the Mets have? Like five, maybe?
And all I'm thinking about is that one stat from the Mets where it was something like they had no wins if they were trailing in like the eighth
Yeah.
inning or later or
Yeah.
something. Imagine the Blue Jays would have given the Mets one of those.
I
would
know.
we be here sitting here talking about the Mets right now if they had literally won? That's so embarrassing.
So embarrassing. Why am I a Mets fan? Always the
Oh
question.
my God, that's so embarrassing. No, honestly, listen, I totally agree. I think there is something to be said, especially in a sport like baseball, for the comeback kids. The Blue Jays are that team. And then credit where credit is due. We haven't actually talked about this yet, but Springer, I mean, bottom of the seventh, man, homers to left center field. Wow, wow, wow. This was not the quote unquote star, but this was someone who played a key role, someone who previously recently got injured for a minute, but was never going to not play in this game. And I totally understand why. And really that's the reason why the Blue Jays won this game. I mean, it was crazy what he was able to do.
Yeah, George Springer, I mean, is an invaluable piece to the Blue Jays. Jeff Passan had a good article earlier this week where he was talking about how Springer is kind of, listen, Vlad's the star, the face of the team, the half the face of baseball these days, but Springer is really like the engine that makes the Blue Jays go. He has had a great postseason. You know that if Vlad is the number one, 1A, Springer's the 1B. And that's what makes their lineup so dangerous. I mean, you get to a point here with the Mariners, but with every other team that the Blue Jays have faced, it's like, why are you even pitching to Springer or Vladdy? But you can't just pitch around them game after game after game. You know what I mean? You have to pick your spots. Although I will say, throwing him a fastball or whatever that was when there's runners on second and third, and it's the pivotal moment of the series, probably
Mm.
is one that what's his face, the pitcher, which is he wishes that he could have back.
Yes, just to be clear about that, it was Eduard Bazardo.
Bizarro, yes.
I mean, listen, hard situation if you're that guy, right? It's like you feel for him. I think you feel for anyone in the playoffs who's a pitcher who has a moment like this because in some way, I think both of those guys' careers will be defined by this moment a little bit, right? Like if you're a Mariners fan, you're going to remember the fact that Bizardo threw that pitch. And if you're a Blue Jays fan, you might think about Springer in a different way than you had before tonight. But it is what it is. Honestly, I don't, it's funny. Like there are some games where I feel like you can really look at a pitcher or you can look at a moment and think this could have gone differently. I think this is just baseball. I think if you're a Mariners fan, you can't be so mad at Bizarro. I agree with you. I think it probably could have been a different pitch, but like it was a reliever. They try to take a flyer on him, see what happened, and Springer hit a home run. That's hard to do in the freaking seventh inning.
Yeah, and honestly, it was almost more meaningful, or it was almost like monumental that it was Springer in a way, because I believe the broadcast said he's the only guy in the Blue Jays lineup that's ever been to a World Series. Obviously, he spent a lot of time with Houston. Max Scherzer has obviously been there, has won, but like Springer in that lineup was the guy who's been there before, who's felt the moment before, and he was the guy to come through. So what can you do? That was the difference. I mean, after that, Hoffman came in the game and closed it out in the ninth for the Blue Jays, and he was just dominant. He said afterwards on the post game that he was just trying not to get to Cal Raleigh, which I don't blame him for, but he didn't. Down 1-2-3, and that's all she wrote for the Mariners.
So now what? The Mariners have a challenge ahead of them. We will continue to talk about this in the coming days, I assure you. But man, you have to think that if you're Toronto, there has to be this strange balance between celebrating earnestly tonight and feeling really, really happy and proud of how far you've come for the first time in 32 years. But who would not look at either of these teams, if either of them would have made it to the World Series, who would not look at this situation and think that the Dodgers have the edge?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's a few things here. So I will say, I think that the Blue Jays, I don't think they're going to be a walk in the park for the Dodgers. I think you look at
No.
this matchup, and if you're a Dodgers fan, you are worried about what the Blue Jays bring to the table. Now, another thing, the Blue Jays are going to have home field advantage here because they beat the Dodgers they edged them out by 1 game in terms of the regular season wins. So the Blue Jays, first game 1 and game 2 are going to be in Toronto. I don't think you can undercount how much that will mean to the Blue Jays. Although I have always thought that in a 7 game series, I don't think it's the worst thing to be the team on the other end of that coin, because then you get 3, 4, and 5 at your place, which is like the meat of the heart of the series, you know? So I don't think that's the end all be all. The Dodgers beat them 2 out of 3 in the regular season. But there's some interesting stuff here. I mean, I think if just on a baseline level, if you're the Blue Jays, it's all going to come down to whether or not you can hit against the Dodgers starting rotation that had the NLCS of a lifetime, basically gave up 0 earned runs. And then you look at it from a baseball perspective, and I mean, I think just think about for 1 minute, which we're gonna see on Friday in game one, Shohei Ohtani and Vladimir Guerrero are playing each other in the World Series. Like, how good for the game of baseball is that?
No, I know, especially after everything we just covered with Otani, the performance that he put on. Who, if you're a baseball fan, is not eager to see that again? I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it's a better, I think, matchup than anyone ever could have asked for. The only reason why I said, and everyone remember that I said really a few weeks ago at this point that I thought there was a 75% chance that the Dodgers would win a World Series, and everyone, including Dodgers fans, roasted me, but I don't know. I still feel that way now. I think part of it, and I felt this way even then, but I just can't get over the fact that the Dodgers have literally breezed through the playoffs. Like, it is remarkable, like astonishing, the way that they have dominated every single opponent that they face. The Blue Jays have to be tired. Like, the players' backs have to hurt. Like, you know what I mean? Game
I
seven,
know.
it's like you have to battle like every game's the last one because it could be. But by the time you get to the World Series, it's like, get these guys in the freaking cold tub, you know?
I know. I think you can look at that 2 ways, right? It's Monday night. The Blue Jays, I mean, it's midnight. So the Blue Jays are done Monday night. They got to play on Friday. They're going to get at most, maybe they rest tomorrow and then they're back at it Wednesday and Thursday. The Dodgers have had more rest. But at the same time, now the Blue Jays kind of have this momentum feeling of
Mhm.
just getting through this series, winning in a crazy game 7 when they had, a couple outs to work with. Maybe that's something valuable that they can build off of too. I don't know. I think you really can look at that kind of both directions. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I certainly, if you just want to look at it matchup to matchup, the Blue Jays pitching does not hold a candle to the Dodgers pitching, but nobody's held a candle to the Dodgers pitching. So how can you even say that, right? And I know Dodgers fans are going to say, well, I mean, pitching's up in the air. We're just gonna have to see what happens through these games. But I think it's gonna be a really fun matchup. I think there's a lot to look at here. Obviously, Ohtani and Vlad is just the tip of the iceberg. Then you have a guy like Teoscar Hernandez who spent 6 years in Toronto, who now plays for the Dodgers. Like that's a great story too.
Sorry, I'm yawning. It's late
No,
here, you
sorry.
guys. It's late here. I need y'all to understand that.
It's midnight. It's a crisp
We're
12 a.m.
we're East Coast girlies. Everybody who's watching does understand that, right?
Yeah.
I went home from work like 4 hours ago. We just like doing this for you guys. No, honestly, I think you're right. And I think, like you mentioned, no one holds a candle to the Dodgers pitching. I don't even think that the Blue Jays, just top to bottom talent wise, really hold a candle to the Dodgers roster. Like, I just think that the Dodgers have a more talented roster. That's just my opinion. Like, Vlad, of course, a couple of them are bringing the heat. But I think what I've always thought, which is that I do think that the Dodgers have more to offer, quite honestly, from position to position. Now, in the World Series, how much does that actually matter? I don't really know because I feel like with the Blue Jays, you talk about that idea of them being the comeback kids. To me, in the World Series, that feels like a real factor. Like, I would say, and still tell you, and we can predict this together, but I would say that the Dodgers are still going to win the World Series if I had to predict it right now. But I would say maybe maybe Dodgers in seven. Like, I think it really is going down to maybe six.
I would say
Maybe
6. I feel comfortable with 6.
seven feels like a lot. Maybe six. But you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be easy breezy and beautiful the way they've just cover girled through the rest of these opponents. I think this is going to be something different.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think honestly, I mean the Mariners, I felt a certain type of way about the Mariners at the beginning of this series, this championship series, because how could you not? They were up 2-0. But now I almost feel like the Blue Jays are a worse matchup for the Dodgers in a couple of the ways that we've been discussing, especially because of that scrappy piece. They know how to come back. They know how to win even when it feels like they're dead. So We'll just have to see what happens. All I know is my parting thought to everyone tonight is that the FS1 panel, okay, of Kevin Burkhardt, A-Rod Jeter, and Big Poppy, whoever pays them enough money to continue to do this is just like my favorite person in the world. Because, first of all, those personalities in a room is fantastic no matter what they're talking about. Second of all, they have gotten so casual. Like Derek Jeter after game 6, I was watching yesterday, and he's talking to Trey Savage, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, Trey? Like, this is Derek. Derek who? Derek Jeter? Like, hello? Like, they are
Right.
so funny together. Big Poppy's obsessed with Vlad. I think Big Poppy thinks that like Vlad is like him reincarnate. It's just such a great combo post game. I love them.
Um, yeah, I will say, for anyone who is just interested in this story, it's just something that Ashley and I both know, being Mets fans. Kevin Burkhardt has probably had one of the most interesting broadcaster journeys that you could ever possibly imagine. And I will never forget, it was an article, I believe, by The Athletic, and the title was something like, he used to be a part-time car salesman. Now he's calling the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say. But if you want to see an amazing story about someone who was literally a car salesman in his 30s, who was calling the Super Bowl recently, and who was a Met sideline reporter in the middle, go ahead and check out that article on The Athletic because it is absolutely freaking wonderful. In any case, Ashley, something you had something else?
No, that's it. I think if you're a Blue Jays fan, obviously enjoy the week. We'll be back later on this week to talk about maybe previewing the series. Maybe we'll talk to you after game 1 or something. But I just think that if you're a Dodgers fan, I'm most interested right now in how Dodgers fans are feeling about this matchup. So let us know in the comment section.
Yeah, drop that down. Hey, thank you again one more time. Hopefully by tomorrow, this episode is at 100,000 views, which for both of us is just hard to fathom. Hard to fathom that 100,000 of you want to
Great.
listen to us talk about baseball. But we really appreciate you being here, and it means the world that you would stay and listen. So thanks so much. Be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Really helps us out when you do that. Otherwise, we'll see you back here when the next big thing happens.